Hi friends! If you watched my last video, you'll know that my words for the year are bravery and adventure. These words are exciting and thrilling, but they are also challenging and sometimes difficult to strive for. While I've been trying to embrace my theme and say yes to the opportunities that have come my way so far, it's not always easy to maintain the courage and motivation to push myself so consistently. We're only 1 month into the year, and I've already experienced the uncertainty and stress that striving to be brave and adventurous can bring, especially for a sensitive person who is usually happy and content in their own little world. In order to achieve my goals for the year and live by my intentions, I've learned some very interesting things. One thing that I've learned most about striving for my goals so far is the importance of my comfort zone. Society encourages us to be constantly pushing ourselves out of or even rejecting our comfort zones. As such, they have an undeserved reputation of being something bad or even shameful. But what I've learned is that comfort zones are not only a wonderful thing, but that they are entirely necessary for us to be brave and adventurous in a sustainable and self-compassionate way. Our comfort zones are unique to us. Each of us has our own habits, patterns, hobbies, and environments that bring us comfort, and I think that is extremely interesting and valuable. But more than anything, our comfort zones are a place to rest, a place to stop. No living creature can consistently push forward without time to stop and feel safe, and that includes all of us. Kind of fell into position there. Hey gang, how are you doing? I hope you're all doing as well as you possibly can be. Welcome to a kind of new type of video. Today I'm going to be charting new territory, once again, being brave, going against what the algorithm wants, and talking about a kind of different topic than I usually talk about on the channel. And obviously that is the importance of comfort zones, the value of comfort zones, what I've learned about comfort zones during my year so far of attempting to push myself out of my comfort zone. So it was definitely kind of a surprise lesson for me, all of these things that I've learned so far, and I wanted to share the takeaways with you just in case you are on a similar path right now and you can relate to some of it, or it's just kind of food for thought and insight on what I've learned. And it's very warm down here. Yeah, I'm going to be sitting chilling out. I'm going to be crocheting and practicing some of my crocheting stitches because I learned a few new stitches the other day. I'm not making anything in particular. I'm literally just going to practice like probably chaining or crocheting over and over and over again. So if you have housework, sorting, folding, crocheting, knitting, anything that you like to do that you can kind of listen along or you just want to watch, that's fine. I will be here crocheting, almost like a little podcast, I guess. But yeah, with a lot less polish and editing. So obviously today I wanted to talk a little bit about comfort zones and the crazy amount of insight and lessons that I've learned about my comfort zone and the value of comfort zones over the last couple of months. Because as I mentioned in my last video, and I think in the beginning of this one, my theme for the year is bravery and adventure. And I really wanted to dedicate the year to breaking out of my comfort zone, doing new things, having new experiences, being, you know, quote unquote brave and pushing myself, because I felt like I'd spent a lot of time within my comfort zone in the last few years, and I think we probably all have in some ways. And, you know, I'm someone who's very positive about things like comfort zones. Like, I appreciate them, I enjoy them, and I try my best not to feel a lot of the negative thoughts and the negative associations that can be kind of heaped upon them. And I think that's something I've really thought about a lot in the last month or so, is how often do we hear, you know, get out of your comfort zone, don't get too comfortable. There's a real cultural shift away from comfort zones and towards always pushing yourself out of them, and sometimes almost forcing yourself out of them too, which I find quite interesting. It never seems to be in a way that is like you feel ready for a challenge, which is kind of why I decided to set this goal for myself this year. I felt ready to start challenging myself again. I didn't just feel like I had to be constantly pushing, and I think that's a really important element of getting out of your comfort zone, and also doing so in a way that is like healthy for you, rather than doing it through guilt and feeling like you shouldn't be too comfortable or you shouldn't be enjoying your life or home comforts or things that bring you a sense of comfort. I just felt that it was kind of time for me to spend some time changing things up a little bit. So let's get into a little bit of what I've learned so far this year. So I think the main thing to realize and remember is that our comfort zones and relaxation and rest time give us a break from the stress, anxiety, and the mental load of pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones. And that's something that you need if you're pushing yourself. You can't just push and push and push and push and I couldn't line up something new and extremely challenging every single day of the week because I would very quickly get burned out and just push myself into a state of anxiety. And I think if you are truly pushing yourself to do things that actually truly get yourself out of your comfort zone, there's going to be a lot of difficult emotions that you have to deal with while you are doing that, because the whole point of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is that it brings up feelings of, stress, maybe worry, nerves, anxiety even. These things are a lot to handle, and it's actually bad for your body to maintain that constant stress level over time. As I'm sure we can all appreciate, having a break and a place to go to retreat has been extremely important for me as I've been pushing myself by going to more social events and going to classes, and most importantly, working on my fear of flying. I will be getting on a plane and going on holiday. And that is incredibly scary. I'm working on a literal phobia here. And if that isn't pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, I don't know what is. I'm doing it sans therapist. I can't afford therapy, unfortunately, but I've been trying to kind of adopt the exposure therapy technique of getting over my fear of flying. So just to give you some examples here of how this all ties together. For example, I've been watching a lot of other people's travel vlogs and watching a lot of in-flight footage to try and normalize the concept of flying. Footage of taxiing, taking off, landing, in the plane, all the sounds, what they mean, why it's important not to worry. I've been looking at maps of the airport that we're going to so I can familiarize myself with that, looking at photos of the inside of the plane, watching safety videos. I have been, and this is over a period of weeks, gradually kind of exposing myself to different elements of what it's going to be like to fly, which is, it's scary and it's nerve-wracking. And in those moments, when I was watching some of the plane taking off footage, I noticed that my heart rate was really increasing, and I was like, wow, okay, here's some actual, bodily sensations that I'm probably going to feel when I am flying. Those kind of things do stress you out, and they're hard to feel. It made me feel quite anxious, as I said, and I think it's important to remember that when we are exposing ourselves to new and kind of potentially terrifying things, we need to keep retreating. And especially with exposure therapy or something like that, if you have a real phobia that you're trying to kind of work on, knowing that you have a comfort zone to retreat to after every little incremental step is an integral part of that therapy process, number one. And it just helps with any kind of anxiety or nerves or difficult feelings you might have when it comes to pushing yourself. Being able to fully embrace things that bring me comfort, as I've been working on a fear of flying in particular, has been incredibly helpful, because I know that maybe if I watch one in-flight video, I can then stop that and go and read a book about something completely different that makes me feel much better, much more calm and comforted. And I think intersplicing the discomfort with the comfort just increases your tolerance to deal with challenges and difficult situations. Even in daily life, we all face challenges and we have to be brave and maybe be a bit more adventurous and open-minded. And I think comfort zones can really help us to get through those difficult periods and the tough emotions that we will naturally feel when we're dealing with them. So for me personally, my comfort zone has meant working on this crochet project for a start, watching some of my favorite TV shows for the fourth time. I am that person. I really struggle to watch new stuff anyway. Rereading some of my favorite books, or just reading books that bring me comfort, is something that I've been really trying to value and engage in lately. Playing fun, chill video games, just stuff like that's been really allowing me to feel like I have a comforting home base to come back to every time I push myself and go to a social event or a crafting class or something like that. And I think it's important to remember that comfort zones help us to approach challenges in a healthy way. If I hadn't had those things, those activities to come back to, knowing they were there for me, I would have had a heck of a lot harder time going to these events and working on my fear of flying, and I would have been in probably a constant panic state. And I think this concept that we all have of the person who never stops pushing themselves and goes bungee jumping one week and rock climbing the next and just constantly pushing themselves and thrill seeking and all that kind of thing, that person, I don't want to say that person doesn't exist, I mean, I kind of do want to say that person doesn't exist because I think we all are different, like I said, and we all have different comfort activities. Can't imagine bungee jumping being a comfort activity, to be honest, but I would definitely say that it is not the majority of people who can live like that. And I think giving yourself a break and allowing yourself to stop and rest in between periods of challenge can just be the necessary refueling that you need to go out there and do the next thing and do the next thing. Because I feel like for me, having bravery and adventure as my yearly goal, like that's a year, that is a long time. And I'm fully aware that like in order to be able to sustain this, I'm going to have to take regular breaks and maybe say no to some things too, you know, not always saying yes to every opportunity that comes along, but thinking like, okay, if I do this thing, is it going to be pushing me a little bit too far out of the box too frequently? Do I need a couple days to like rest, relax, kind of regain a little bit of composure and then re-motivate myself to go out next week and do something new? In order to do it sustainably, you need to do it with a great deal of thoughtfulness and being gentle with yourself. And I know it sounds like people will be like, oh, it's silly. Why would you be gentle with yourself? The whole point is to push yourself. Yes, it is. But I would like to maintain my mental health at the same time as pushing myself. So even though this is my theme for 2023, I understand fully that we can't always be brave and pushing ourselves. We do have to have those rest breaks. And, you know, who am I kidding? There's probably going to be times when like life in general is just rough and I have challenges and difficulties this year. And like the thought of pushing myself out of my comfort zone, no, it's not going to happen. It's a bad idea. Sometimes I think life pushes you enough already without you having to go out there and seek out these new challenges, and you end up in new situations as it is. And in those times, I think it's important to just kind of like stop and think, is this the right time to push myself? Or maybe do I need to give myself a bit of a break? I just wanted to make this video today and kind of tell you, if you're also pushing yourself at the minute or dealing with something new and scary, that like it's perfectly okay for you to stop and take a break. We're all human, we all do it. It's important, and it's just an integral part of how human nature works. You can't keep going and going on a trajectory and never stop. You need to stop and allow yourself to rest, especially if you have a chronic illness or disability, which is likely if you're watching this channel. Please do go easy on yourself and try to be sensible and thoughtful about when you're pushing yourself versus when you're giving yourselves time to stop and rest. And I truly believe that no one should feel guilty for staying in their comfort zone or embracing or appreciating their comfort zone. But I'm also not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I have it all figured out and that like I never feel guilty, I never feel shame. I do experience it quite a lot where I think like, am I getting too comfortable? Do I actually need to stop reading the same book series and push myself and read a different kind of book, or be challenging myself more frequently? And I have to stop and remind myself that if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to make it work, I need to be kind, I need to be thoughtful with myself, and I just need to stop and give myself time to refuel before going on the next adventure. So I hope this video has been helpful to you guys and you've enjoyed it. Again, it's a first taste of kind of the more casual content I'm going to be integrating on the channel. I do plan next week to do another specifically disability related idea, so that will be coming back next week and it will be quite similar to the older videos that I've been doing. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Love and spoons. Mwah.